Gasbarri from the University of Turin, and today I will present this research. But first, let's make some contextualization. Despite the efforts in buildings digitalization, Italians unfortunately lack in standardized digital procedures for building permits. And so approvals processes are uncertain, slow, ambiguous, and also designers are required to work on different scales, for example, from buildings or for on a city domain. They use different tools, which leads to, of course, interoperability issues. And also in our municipalities, digital archives are not machine readable. And there are also a lack of users who have skills on new technologies. From an European perspective, we can see a common pattern, but challenges remain in fragmentations. And there are some projects that aim to integrate BIM and GIS for building permit procedures, but there are also challenging, for example, in translating the regulation into structured machine-readable formats. So to consider these challenges, we don't have to see only GIS and BIM tools, but we have to considering also IoT systems, because there are more required data-driven decision-making on real-time required for the management of the urban city. So we have these three different resources, which of course have different scopes and of course a different data structure. So there are some efforts in providing standards like IFC and CTZML, but they are not always sufficient to fill this gap of integrations. So we have to look, for example, as possible solution on the exploitation of a common data environment for the use of centralized data management, and also with the exploitation of AI and machine learning for the integration of the semantic data. So as an emerging approach, we have, of course, digital twin and city information models, but we have to look also to the ontological mapping approaches, which exploit standardized ontologies and create semantics links. Of course, there is also the blockchain technology that ensure trustful and secure data exchanges. So Policad, what is Policad? Policad is a tool that we are developing, which aim is to facilitate the integration of BIM and GIS toward digital building permit processes. And the difference between Policad and the other tool is that usually when the compliance check of a model of a project is done, it's done at the end of the process. But with Policad, we can check the compliance at the beginning of the design stage. So we have to make some premises that leads to add to its development. For example, every design form possesses a physical extension in a specific location, which is related with the georeferences of the geometries, and also align with the planning regulation demand. And each architectural object should establish a relationship with the existing structures even before they already exist. So we have to look not only to what is already built, but will be built in the future. So how Policad works, we at first have to find some sources, for example, from Cadastre, and we can search for raster format, GeoJSON, but also vector formats. and then they can be imported into Policad, where they are georeferenced, and according to this documentation that is imported, a BIM-like model can be created, and during the phase of creation, queries can be operated on the model to see if the design proposed is compliant with the regulation of the cadastre of the urban plan. So in the end, the model can be exported to several formats like GeoJSON and IFC, but also PCAD, which is the native format of the Policad tool. And so in this way, it can be then imported and shared by the user through APIs or like Mapbox or WebGIS platforms. So we see here some core functionalities. So we have the possibility to have the cadastral acquisition and the georeferencing, a CAD to BIM easier conversion, and because when a CAD line is imported into the Policad tool, can be translated into a georeferenced surface and assigned to a category with specific parameters. So this will make an easier BIM-GIS integration, exploiting the feature of both of them. So, as I mentioned, surfaces are defined and classified according to parameters, and it seems like obvious that in this way Policad can import a large amount of data. In Policad, it's also possible to create a context around your building, adding a 3D urban model, and this will provide, for example, not only the contextualized visualization, but also it can be exploited for solar analysis or zoning regulation compliance checks. We use as case study the city of Milan, so we check for the documents to add in the tool. Then we create the 3D model of the city, and we check for preliminary analysis. So as a result, we see that with our method, the average time for preliminary checks will drop by from 3-5 days to 1-2 hours, which is really fast, because the check is made ongoing the development of the model. So also, because we can input in the beginning the cadastral information, also the accuracy of the geospatial position is higher, and the compliance of error rate is lower than the manual process, which is done in these days. And also we have a high data format interoperability, and also we provide a more easier user accessibility, because the user is not demanded the use of several software, but just one. So we have here a resume of the impact. So compliance check automation, support digital permit management, improve collaboration. Of course, less time means less cost, and support CAD to BIM transitions. In future development, we have, as we've seen in the future approaches before, we have AI-driven compliance automation and blockchain secure permits for data exchange, and IoT connectivity improvement for the real-time data integration. We are actually working to support more file format. For example, we are now working on the XF file. I hope you enjoy the tool. That's all, and thank you.